Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you to the Africa Financial Industry Summit, a two-day conference which is organized by the Africa CEO Forum in partnership with the IFC. I'm Julie Gishuru. It's a great pleasure to be with you. I am the Head of Public Affairs and Communications at the MasterCard Foundation, a Pan-Africanist and a passionate Afro-optimist. And it's going to be a pleasure to help guide this opening session and the opening panel as well. Now, this event is an annual gathering of the most influential stakeholders in the African financial industry. We're talking about finance and economic ministers, major bankers, and insurers are with us. Great to have you all. Also, regulators and supervisory authorities, capital market leaders, mobile money operators, fintech firms, investors, pension funds, DFIs, you are all welcome. It is a pleasure to have you all with us. We have over 500 participants, 35 countries are represented here. We have 30 regulatory authorities, 45 banks, and we mentioned insurance companies. We have 15 of them here. A warm welcome. Now, we all know we're going through one of the most uncertain times that the world has experienced in modern history, difficult times. We're going to be talking through our experiences, our learnings, and pathways forward. You have an opportunity to, create your schedule, and we have a whole raft of things, sessions, fireside chats, business-to-business meetings. You can network. It's all happening here. You can find out more on the tutorial, which is on the How to Use the Platform tab within the AFIS application, and you can reach out to the forum organizers. They can help as well. So if you are using social media as well, please do use hashtag AFIS 2021 as you share your posts. Now, over the next 2 days, we hope to address a number of things. We're looking at key issues across the industry. So financial inclusion, we want to look at digital transformation, how we're financing the private sector, integration, the advent of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and more. But I want to appeal to us all to keep our conversations rooted and grounded in the realities on the African continent. In particular, I want to highlight young people and women. We know that young Africans and women will be key to ensuring that there's successful rebound and growth. We all know 60% of the continent is under 25. And this number of young people is fast growing, the fastest growing in the world. Now, many young people on this continent and women on this continent remain in the informal sector. Many remain unbanked. So I just want to encourage us all to really focus on how we serve these stakeholders as well. But with that, I want to now give a very, very warm welcome to the leaders at the helm of this summit. Let's welcome the president of the Africa CEO Forum, founder and proprietor of the Africa Financial Industry Summit, Amir Ben Yahmed. Great to have you with us. Also with us is Vice President for the Middle East and Africa of the IFC and co-host of this conference, Sergio Pimenta. Great to have you both with us, gentlemen. Let's go into a quick conversation on the why this summit is so important, and particularly at this time. Ben, let me start with you, Ben Yahmed, on this. You came up with this concept. Now, in this COVID times, why is this even more important? Please unmute. Amir, if you would unmute, thank you.
Sorry. I should be used to that by now. But please let me welcome first all of our participants. We have 500 CEOs and executives from the industry, which is both a great satisfaction for us and a sign of deep enthusiasm for the future of this initiative. I would like also to thank our co-host, the IFC. Sergio is here, is going to talk a little bit after, but I would also like to thank his teams wherever they are across Africa or in Washington. They have always been very involved in helping us prepare for this first summit. Of course, I want to thank our long-standing partners of the forum who have been supporting this new initiative, and very quickly, all the teams that have been working for 2 days now, night and day, to make it a reality. So back to your question, Julie. The idea of the forum was really built on the success of the last edition of the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali. It feels like an eternity now after 18 months of COVID, where we haven't seen all of our friends in physical reality. But when we, at that moment, we really felt an incredible surge of enthusiasm, of ambitions among the participants, in the light of the promises offered by the CFTA, the promises of new opportunities for the African private sector. So everybody was really thrilled. So we very quickly decided that we should focus our work on helping make the CFTA a business reality for the Africa private sector. And so for us, the way to do that was to try to engage a little bit more and go at the industry or sector-specific level and create platform with a great component of public-private dialogue to identify all the challenges that hamper integration and growth. So the idea was to create this sector-specific. We chose the financial industry because it's obvious. It's obvious because of its size. It's obvious because of the impact it has on the economy, both as a fuel for business and as a facilitator of integration, but also, and you mentioned it early in your speech, because it has an immense responsibility in terms of financial inclusion. So this choice was also comforted by our study of how the European Union created its economic integration process. And very early in the year 2000, the financial industry was at the center of all of its planning. So we were very comfortable choosing the financial industry to make our first mark on the CFTA. We decided to take a holistic approach to talk to everybody: banks, insurance, capital markets, telecom operator, the new disruptors in fintech, and of course, regulators, to contribute to one goal, the strengthening and the integration of the African financial markets.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amir. Sergio, let me come to you. And you know, we are living in interesting and difficult times. Why, in your view, is the financial sector so critical to relief and recovery in Africa, particularly in these times?
Good morning, Julie, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for your question. And it's let me start by saying it's a great honor for IFC to co-host this important summit together with the Africa CEO Forum. Here for being here with me, and to thank his teams. I know that there's been a lot of work to bring us to where we are today, but it's really exciting to be here with all the key people who are playing a role in the financial sector across the continent. I'm really looking forward to the debates that are going to happen in the next 2 days. But you did ask me why the financial sector is so critical, and let me say this first. I mean, when we look at the developing world, about 1.7 billion adults don't have a bank account, so don't have access to the financial industry, and 200 million businesses don't have access to credit. So extending finance to people and to the companies across the developing world will be absolutely key to get out of this crisis and to look at the recovery. So, and that is so true when we look at the situation in Africa. But let me also say that in spite of the 2020 being a very, very difficult year, most financial companies, most financial firms in Africa have managed to survive the impact of the crisis. And that in itself is quite an achievement that shows the resilience of the African banking sector. I would also say that on the public sector, there's been a strong response to the pandemic throughout the year, and governments and regulators have deployed a significant amount of emergency capital. So there's been a lot that has been done. And a lot of this has been focused on protecting lives and livelihoods. But now I think everyone is focusing on, okay, how do we prepare for the after pandemic? How do we make sure that there will be a recovery, a stronger one, more inclusive, that will be also more green, more resilient. So and focusing, as you said rightly so, Julie, focusing also on the youth and on the women who are a very large part of the economy in Africa. This will take different approaches. It will take looking at innovative solutions, a lot around digital lending, leveraging all the digital space, but also having integrated marketplaces to increase access to finance, in particular in the more difficult, the more fragile and underserved markets. And when we look at that, when we look at what will happen, you can all realize that banks and financial institutions will be instrumental to make this large-scale relief successful. They will play a key role in the distribution, in the implementation of these programs. So one thing that we know when we talk with our IFC clients across the continent is that access to credit remains a top requirement. And this is something that happened before the crisis, has been enhanced with the crisis, and will continue after the pandemic. So this is something we do need to address. And among those that have the more difficulties to access credit, SMEs are the first ones to be mentioned. And they are, as you know, they play a key role in Africa. They employ around 90% of the private sector workforce. So SMEs will benefit from access to credit, not just through banks, but through also non-bank financial institutions, and also, of course, development finance institutions. So I think we all play a key role in helping get out of this crisis, improve the world, and make sure that Africa will have a recovery that will be more inclusive, more long-lasting, and stronger. So we will all have to work together between public and private institutions, between regulators, governments, and financial institutions, so that we can find joint solutions to recover.
Thank you for that, Sergio. So well put. We need to work together. We need to rethink, be agile, be innovative, be creative in our approaches. Amir, let me come back to you now and just ask, I feel rallied and inspired by Sergio's thoughts, but we do face challenges as well. If you were to highlight some of the greatest challenges facing the African financial industry at this time, what would they be?
I think it's important here to take the long view, because you're talking about tormented times, but I don't think anyone among our participants today can really predict what is going to happen in the next months, how we're going to get out of this crisis. Our GDPs of our countries have been impacted. It has been impacted elsewhere in international environment. We have what Alan Greenspan said at the time, some irrational exuberance in the financial markets that are also a little bit worrying. And all of our governments have taken a lot of debt. So we're hopefully going to exit of the sanitary crisis this year, I think. But we have to be very cautious on what is going to be the economic situation when we get out. That being said, I think what we have to focus on collectively, as Sergio said, this is one of the most important word, I think, and this is why we did the forum. We need to be together, everybody, regulators, actors. The challenge that we can work on is, first of all, we need to identify the area of improvements. On our side, try to facilitate interactions between public representatives from public and private sectors to determine what are the priority policy actions needed. And if you take at the challenges itself, if you put aside the digital transformation issue, which is a very specific issue affecting all the players in the industry, it's an internal, everybody has to change its processes, the way it serves clients, the way, and you have also disruption with the fintech. But if you put aside digital transformation, I would list 4 main challenges. The first one is to ensure a strong industrial and stable financial industry. This is at the macroeconomic level. It's the most important thing to guarantee a healthy African economy. The second challenge, I think, is to increase the level and lower the cost of financing for the private sector with a specific attention to, as Sergio said, to SMEs. The third challenge is to facilitate cross-investment borders. We have been talking about this for a long time. This is a very important issue because it will both help create national champions and develop the first generation of national champions, and it will also help promote FDIs in Africa, which we need in the mid and in the long term. And last but not least, at the consumer level, I think what would be the fourth challenge is, of course, dramatically increase financial inclusion. This is, of course, one of the main goal of everywhere here participating at the summit. And as the market are going to be more and more sophisticated, I think there's an issue that we have to consider is also the question of consumer protection. We need all the participants and all the regulators to keep fine-tuning our policies to protect our consumers, because you have actors who have bad behaviors, you have fraud keeping going up. So this is what I think would be the four challenges that we should focus. With the last one that I didn't mention, but it's very important, is the environmental challenge that everybody has to take into account its policy now.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Amir. Sergio, we've heard the challenges. Amir has talked us through them. What are the bright spots? Do you see bright spots? What positive trends can we expect as the financial industry looks to support the continent's recovery?
Sergio or me?
This is for Sergio. Sergio.
Thank you, Julie. And Amir, please feel free to join on this point. But I have to say that first of all, that I do agree with all the challenges that you were referring to, and I also know that you would agree that some of these challenges, if not all, can be looked at as actually the opportunities and the bright spots to a certain light, under a certain light. I mean, we have to look at all these different challenges and see how we can really overcome them, not just on the short term, as you said, Amir, but also beyond that on the medium and long term. So let me maybe mention some of these opportunities or bright spots that I see, Julie, and you will probably see some resonance with or some echo to what Amir was saying in terms of the challenges. I think that somehow this crisis is an opportunity to look at things differently and to have major changes in the African continent. The first one I would say is particularly for the banks in Africa. I think this is an opportunity for them to review their cost bases and their operating models. We have to keep in mind that they still have the highest cost to asset ratios in the world, right? So if they are able to improve those ratios and improve their cost bases, then this will make banking more affordable and inclusive, and this will have a very long-lasting impact on the continent. One of the points I would also mention that is also linked to this cost base to a certain extent is that there's large opportunities that are provided by the digital transformation of the economies and also by the rapid urbanization of the continent. So when we look at both urbanization and digital transformation, that can have an impact on the way financial institutions operate in the continent, and this can be a game changer for them. They will have the ability to serve better the low-income households, the smaller firms that can actually benefit much more from the advances in mobile money, in fintech services, online banking. So all this you could see a shift in the type of business models that the banks have and the financial institutions have. And I really want to include the non-bank financial institutions in this conversation in the medium term, and this could have a very large impact on the continent. I think that could, for instance, look at the mortgage market and see whether there could be opportunities to have cheaper mortgages extended in Africa, because this would also contribute largely, very strongly, to the development of an affordable housing value chain that is well needed in the continent. Another bright spot that I also want to mention is related to the question of trade, with the opportunities that come from the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And even if this will not happen overnight, it's really going in a direction that will improve trade across the region. And that's a strong bright spot that I see. Sorry. In terms, maybe just to close, I mean, I just want to say that my last point I would add is that really the acceleration of the digital economy in Africa for me is a game changer. Is something that will really change. It is happening. It has started before COVID, and it's accelerating now. We all know that East Africa, for instance, had led the region in terms of mobile money adoption, but the other regions in the continent are also catching up. I mean, like, if we look at countries like Senegal, Mali, and Burkina Faso, mobile money penetration rose from single digits to over 27% in 3 years. So there's a real momentum there, and things are changing. And this is something that gives me a lot of optimism. So when we look at all these trends, I think we can say that there is an opportunity to really change the continent, to make it for a much brighter future. And one of the key points that I want to say, I kept it for last, but definitely not least. It's, I think, one of the most important points. Africa has a huge opportunity in giving better access to the markets and to the economic activities to women. It's still the continent where women are participating the least in the economies. And if this opportunity is really unlocked, for me, this will be the brightest future that Africa can have. So.
Wow, what a great way to close, really, this opening session. A bright future for Africa is possible. You've put women front and center of that, which is greatly appreciated. And just to let you know, there are many partners who are on this journey. As the MasterCard Foundation focused on Young Africa Works and young people, focused on women, we walk with you, and we look to really see how we can learn, share, and collaborate further. So a big round of applause wherever you are in the world joining us for Amir and Sergio. Asante sana, we say in East Africa in Kiswahili. Thank you so much. A great pleasure to have you open for us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just moving very quickly to take a look at the program, and Sergio did mention, the revolution of mobile money and M-Pesa. We have a fireside chat, I believe, with Sitoyo Lopokoyit coming up. We can take a look at the program. I think it will be on your screen in just a moment. Have a look. Some great fireside chats will be ongoing. There will be sessions that are in conflict, so you might need, as you're scheduling, to decide which one you want to attend again. If you need any assistance, reach out to the forum organizers. And we're thankful that you are with us. We wish you a very productive couple of days. Next, we move on to our opening panel. Thank you so much.